Yo, what is good, YouTube? Krishan checking back in with another video. So starting this video off with updates of Nick Walker, who is looking massive ahead of this year's Olympia. And believe it or not, to me, Nick Walker is somewhat of a wild card. Nick is definitely a very impressive bodybuilder. He's massive, comes in very conditioned. And last year in his Mr. Olympia debut, he placed top 5, which is definitely incredible. But on the other hand, I'm not sure if it's because I've been looking at Andrew Jacked or Samson Dowda so much. I believe Nick's genetically wider midsection could potentially hold him back from moving up places at this year's Mr. Olympia. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. But on the other hand, the wider midsection only really plays a factor in 3 poses: the front double, the front lat, and the ab and thigh. Now with the front double and the ab and thigh, Nick Walker has great abs, so he can usually beat a lot of guys in those shots, so he'll really just struggle in the front lat. But Nick Walker is dominant enough from the back and the side, and the most muscular, to definitely still place high. But let me know your guys' thoughts on this. Is Nick Walker going to move up at this year's Olympia, or is he going to stay around 5th place or maybe even get pushed out? And in the next update of the day, we have recent updates of Derek Lunsford ahead of this year's Olympia. And I'm very excited to see how Derek is going to stack up with a lot of these guys. Now going into this year's Olympia, one of the most competitive in years, so many household names doing this show. I think Derek Lunsford is going to do very, very well. And when I think about how he would have placed at last year's Olympia, I could see him around that 6th to 7th position. It all depends on how Derek stacks up size-wise. If he's put on enough size, he can definitely be competitive enough to be in that top 6. But we already have bigger guys coming in like Samson Dowda and Andrew Jacked. I honestly believe Derek Lunsford and Hadi Chupin could get shifted down if they look too small next to these guys. But how do you guys think Derek will place at this year's Olympia? Now switching over to William Bonac, these are recent updates of him. And every time people talk about the top 5, the top 6, they constantly leave out William Bonac. As we all seen earlier this year, pretty much the entire bodybuilding world had William Bonac beating Brandon Curry at this year's Arnold Classic. Now a lot of people are also counting out Brandon Curry, but they underestimate how fast he can grow. And he's also a former Mr. Olympia. You can never count him out. And going into this year's Olympia, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was William Bonac and Brandon Curry fighting it out for that 2nd place position, unless someone else comes in and just shock the world. But Nick Walker and Andrew Jacked have been known to shock the world, so who knows. And switching over to Jamie the Giant Johal, the video on the left was from like 2 days ago when Jamie was 100% depleted, getting ready to carb up. And on the right, I think Jamie has already started to carb up for this weekend's Legion Sports Fest. And he did say him and Milo Sarchel both agree that this will be his best package to date. So how do you guys think he's going to do with this Legion Sports Fest? He's going up against guys like Justin Rodriguez, Tony O'Burton. And keep in mind, Jamie the Giant is 6'5", so he does have the ability to make a lot of these guys look very small. And honestly, I believe Jamie could have placed a little better than what he's been placing this year. I honestly really like his physique. He's a bigger guy, but he has managed to put on a decent amount of size. Unfortunately, with him being so tall, he still needs to put on even more size. But I think Jamie is going to have a great showing at this weekend's Legion Sports Fest. I've actually heard a couple people pick him to win this show. Bold predictions. Switching over to Michal Krizo, these are the most recent updates of him. And it has to be tough as an amateur competitor going into this show. You're just trying to earn your pro card and you have to go up against a guy like Michal Krizo. But I'm excited that we'll finally get a chance to see Krizo on the stage this weekend. And hopefully Krizo has somewhat improved his posing, because since he's came to the NPC, that's honestly been his biggest critique. Now switching over to Classic Physique, we have recent updates of Ramon Dino ahead of this year's Olympia. And in my personal opinion, the best fight at this year's Classic Physique Olympia is probably going to be between Terrence Ruffin and Ramon Dino. As most of us agree, Chris Bumstead is in a league of his own. He's a great ambassador for the sport, and he's probably going to maintain the title until he decides to retire. But Ramon Dino is coming up, and it seems like the Classic Physique division seems to favor the taller physiques. But as of right now, I would still have Terrence Ruffin placing ahead of Ramon Dino, but I'm still very excited to see the comparison once again at this year's Olympia. Now we also have a recent physique update from Urs Kalecinski, who was actually with Terrence Ruffin. Urs was actually just training with Nick Walker. We talked about that in the last video. But I was noticing at 11 weeks out, Urs Kalecinski is already extremely conditioned. And I was wondering, is Urs going to hit a show before this year's Olympia? But he actually said 11 weeks out. So as you guys know, Urs is a big Dorian Yates fan. So he may just be trying to come in condition very, very early. Maybe be ready 6 weeks out. But hopefully this doesn't backfire on him. Urs is also going to bring a great package to this year's Olympia, one of the best poses in the Classic Physique division. but is he going to be able to challenge a guy like Ramon Dino? And we also have updates from Fabian Mayr. And if you guys had to ask me right now, do I see anyone new coming up in the classic physique division that can challenge that top 5? Fabian Mayr would definitely be my pick. The only thing I think that holds him back is the wider midsection. But honestly, I don't know how Fabian makes the weight cap. This guy looks massive, man. Now, also classic physique news, I did want to touch on this. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have heard about this. Wesley Visser said that at the French show, they gave Zagarella a whole day to weigh in. And as you guys know, Peter Molnar and Madelman only had 30 minutes. Now, I'm not sure if classic physique has a specific rule where you can only have 30 to 60 minutes, or if it's kind of up to the promoter, or if it's a show-to-show thing, but there's definitely something that has to get figured out. And also, interesting news, I actually got in touch with Bob Ciccarello, and I asked him about upping the classic physique weight cap maybe 5 to 7 pounds. Bob actually told me that this has already been proposed to the Pro League, and it's up to them to accept or decline it, and they have not got back to him about that. I also talked to him about athletes having to height in multiple times a year, and is it possible just to have the classic physique guys have one height taken in the beginning of the year? Bob said this has actually been a problem for years, and hopefully this gets fixed soon. So I did push my concerns to Bob Ciccarello, which is pretty much as I can do. So hopefully some things get changed in the future. Just wanted to notify you guys on that. And in the next update of the day, we have recent updates of Jeremy Buendia. And Jeremy did confirm he is making his comeback to the stage at the 2023 Mr. Olympia in the men's physique division. Jeremy will be going for their 5th title. And if you guys don't know, Brandon Hendrickson is going for his 4th title. So there's a possibility that these guys can fight it out for the 5th men's physique Olympia title. But these guys have definitely put on a lot of size since Jeremy left. So hopefully he does enough work in this offseason to truly be competitive with them. And you guys are now currently looking at the competitors list for this weekend Tsunami Pro. Now, once again, Jamie Johal will not be doing this show. He is 100% confirmed to be doing the Legion Sports Fest this weekend. And I'm very glad that James Hollingshead did hop into this show. So I will be giving you guys my top 4. The guys that I have as the front runners, Muhammad L.A. Mom, Marc Hector, James Hollingshead, and William Martins. And I actually have William Martins placing 4th at this show. Now in 3rd place, I have Muhammad L.A. Mom. Muhammad is coming off a 2nd place placing at the Yamamoto Cup. And it's pretty much his first show in a year. He also works with Milo Sarchel, so I think here he's going to look a bit better. But I still think Muhammad is going to need a little bit more size to be competitive with the 2 guys that I have placing ahead of him. But you guys should definitely keep him on your radar. Now in 2nd place, I actually have James Hollingshead. James had an incredible showing at this Arnold Classic UK and definitely was a huge improvement from last year's Olympia. Now, I believe that James and Marc Hector are going to be the top 2 at this show. Kind of spoiled my prediction for who's going to win. But I believe once those 2 are up there, Marc is going to expose some of James' structural weaknesses. And as you guys know, James Hollingshead beats a lot of guys from the side and from behind. And I definitely think Marc Hector can hold his own. And also, Marc is 3D, which makes him be able to stand up with James size-wise as well. Now, winning this show, as I've already spoiled, I have Marc Hector. Now, if you guys didn't know, he only lost to Patrick Johnson in France by 1 point. It was actually very close. Now, even though Patrick Johnson was significantly more conditioned, when those guys got in a 2-man call-out, Marc started to expose a lot of his structural weaknesses. And I honestly believe Marc definitely looked better at the France Pro than what he did at the Arnold Classic UK. And I'm expecting him to look even better than that at this weekend Tsunami Pro. But once again, this will not be a walk-off win for Marc Hector by any means. I definitely think it's going to be a battle between him and James Hollingshead. But I think Marc is going to prevail as long as he comes in condition, just because he has a better structure. Now, ending this video here with the archive of the day, you guys let me know in the comment section below which legendary bodybuilder is this. As always, I hope you guys did indeed enjoy this video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Krishan from Go Fitness, and that's it. I'm out.